All right, now we're going to move on to page 3. The top of page 3, we have triangle HYZ is congruent to triangle KLR. So what we want to do is line up the letters. We're looking for angle L. L is right here in the middle. That lines up with angle Y, which is also in the middle. LR, the last two. So the last two becomes YZ. Make sure you get your labels in there. I'm going to slide this over. Angle H lines up with angle K, and then ZH lines up with RK. Just getting your letters straightened out there. And then triangle ABC is congruent to triangle TDJ. Complete the following statements. You've got the triangles there, but you really don't even need them. What you need to do is just line up your letters. B is second, so the second is D. T is the first one over here, so the first letter, A. JD, we're going backwards, the last and then the middle, so the last and then the middle is C. B, order matters, so make sure you get that right. And then BC, second and third, becomes DJ. And get your labels in there also, so you should be all set. Now, here they have triangle ABC is congruent to another triangle, provided it's some information about the two triangles. AB is congruent to AL, and CA is congruent to GA. From this information, determine the triangle congruence statement. So here we have ABC as our statement. So I'm going to come back here and look. A lines up with A. So apparently that triangle has, both triangles have the same point there. B lines up with L, so B, the next letter is going to be L. And then C lines up with G, so it is triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ALG. Now we're going to put this into play here with a few examples with measurements. Determine the missing information. We have triangle ABC is congruent to triangle TDJ. Okay, so C lines up with J. So if I have J, that's 50, so that means C is going to be 50. If you want, you can write that little 50 right in there so you know. Because when you go to do angle B, now we see B lines up with D, but we have no measurement for D. But what we do have is the two angles of the triangle, 70 and 50. So if you add 70 plus 50, you get 120. And you know the three angles add up to be 180. So 180 minus 120 is going to give you 60. The measure of angle B, 60 degrees. Okay, TJ, the first and third, that lines up with AC. AC is 4.7 centimeters. AB, first two, that lines up with TD. TD is 4.2. Let me write that a little better for you. 4.2 centimeters. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next triangle. Two triangles. And the first thing I see is a right angle. So I'm thinking we may have to at some point use the Pythagorean theorem. We'll check that out. We want the measure of angle K. Okay, so we have AFY is congruent to RQK. K lines up with Y. Y is 53.1. K, 53.1. Angle A. Well, here, if we have 90 and 53.1, we add those up and we get 143.1. We subtract that from 180, and we're going to end up with 36.9 degrees. Okay? Now, AF, your first two, that lines up with RQ. RQ is 4. And then we have KR. KR lines up with YA. We don't have YA, that's the hypotenuse. We do have FY is 3, so KQ is 3. So that, to find our hypotenuse, is going to be the Pythagorean theorem. 3 squared plus 4 squared equals, I'm just going to put an x here to make it easy, x squared. So we have 9 plus 16 is x squared. 9 and 16 is 25. And the square root of x is 5. So that's going to be 5 centimeters. Now we're going to move on to our next triangle. Triangle CKB is congruent to triangle KCJ. Okay, we got some letters lined up here. We got C's in both of them, but they don't line up together, so you got to be careful. Angle J. J is last, B is last. So B is 79, J is going to be 79. Okay, angle JCK. So JCK is right here. Not quite sure what that is yet. We want it to line up with BKC. Do we have BKC? No, we don't. We do, however, have angle B right here. That lines up with J. So those are the same. So in order to find this angle here, which is JCK, we have 79 and 70 as our other angles. We can add those up. 149, 180 minus 149, 31 degrees. BK is the third and second, so that's the same as JC. JC is 7.3. And then the last one, JK, third and first, BC. BC is 6.6, again, I'll write that better for you, 6.6 centimeters. So there's that piece. Now the last couple, these are a little more involved. Name the transformation or sequence of transformation that maps one figure onto the other, then complete the congruence statement. Okay, so here's what we have. And we have this triangle. We're starting with DEC. So DEC, we have to get it down here to GHY. And in order to do that, what I'm going to do is, you see how GHY is? If I turn my paper, I will get the same shape of the triangle. So one rotation of the paper like that is 90 degrees counterclockwise. Okay, 90 degrees counterclockwise, you'll see it. And your coordinate, your rotation rule, XY becomes negative YX. And the reason I do that is to find out where E is going to be. E was -1, 0 is the coordinate, so it becomes 0, -1. Now, you can do it with all of them, but you really don't have to. We know it's a rotation about the origin 90 degrees. Now, you don't have to write counterclockwise because it's the default. That's we always, when we're talking 90, 80, 270, the default is counterclockwise. Okay? And now we have to have a translation. So we're going from 0, -1 has to go to point G is 6, -2. To get from 0 to 6, we move 6 units. From -1 to -2, -1 units. Okay, and then DEC lines up with HGY. And that's how we get that. Now we're going to move on to the last one. Start with FLT. Okay, and it's a reflection this time. Now you got to think, am I going over the x-axis this way or the y-axis this way? It looks to me like we're going to be going over the x-axis this way. So it's a reflection over the x-axis. Okay, so I'm going to take one point. Okay, it looks as if F is going to come up and line up with D. So I'm actually going to put that there. So F, my coordinate, is -6, -7. And when I go over the x-axis, I change the y-coordinate. So -6, 7. Now F is going to become D, which is 1, 5. Now from -6 to 1, we go 7 units. From 7 to 5, -2 units. And that's our translation. Okay? Now we flip that up. F becomes D, L becomes E, and T becomes O. And that is your congruence statement. Okay? I hope this was helpful. That's page 3. And if there's any questions, make sure you go to one of your teachers, email, Google Meet, whatever is easiest for you. Hope all is well and stay safe.